Welcome. My name is Claire Ladd, and I am the Programs and Services Manager at the Massachusetts Nonprofit Network, or MNN. And thank you for joining us for the webinar today. Just a few quick items. So the recording and the slides from today's program will be emailed to you following the webinar. So just keep an eye out for that. And if you have any technical difficulties during the workshop, please just use the chat and let me know. We can figure it out. And you can also submit questions to us via the Q&A function, and then the presenters will be able to address those at the end. I also want to give a little background about MNN in general. Our three goals at MNN are to strengthen the nonprofit sector through advocacy, public awareness, and capacity building services. Our webinar series is part of our capacity building offerings, and we tend to have regular webinars, so please stay tuned for future topics in the coming weeks and reach out if you have any topics you'd like to see. Our efforts are made possible by our more than 600 member organizations. To those of you who are members, thank you for your partnership. And if you have not yet joined the network, but would be interested in taking advantage of networking opportunities, trainings, cost savings on various services, you can visit massnonprofitnet.org/join to find out more. So on to today's program and today's partner. Mutual of America has over 75 years of experience providing nonprofit organizations with retirement services. In 1945, they were founded by a grant from the United Way for the purpose of providing nonprofit organizations with retirement plans, and they continue serving the nonprofit community today. We are grateful for Mutual of America's continued partnership and support of MNN and look forward to our discussion today, which focuses on an incredibly important topic, women and retirement. So with that, I'll hand it over to the presenters.
Thank you, Claire, and welcome everyone. It is such a pleasure to connect with you today. My name is Jacqueline DeFrancesco, and my colleague Kristina Yurko and I are here today to discuss women and retirement. We hope the conversation is informative, and feel free to include your questions in the Q&A box throughout our conversation. And please know there is a way to submit your questions anonymously if you so choose. We will do our best to address everyone's questions at the end of the presentation. Additionally, Kristina and I are going to be turning our video off during the presentation just to make sure we avoid any connectivity issues, but please know we'll have our video back on at the end to answer everyone's questions. Before we begin our conversation, I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and my colleague, Kristina. In our roles, we are fortunate enough to work with nonprofit organizations across New England and support them with retirement. Through our work in the nonprofit sector, we have the opportunity to provide information and resources to make informed retirement decisions. Retirement is a really complex topic, and we want to make sure those we support have the tools and information to be successful. In our discussion today, we'll talk about several of the retirement savings challenges women face. Then we'll discuss how women can plan for a more financially secure retirement. What are the tangible action steps that we can take right now to move us forward? And of course, we want to save some time at the end for questions. Now I'm going to turn the discussion over to my colleague, Kristina Yurko, to begin our conversation and discuss some of the challenges women face when saving for retirement.
Thank you, Jackie, and welcome everyone. As Jackie mentioned, the first thing that we want to do is talk about some of the key challenges that women face when planning and saving for retirement. As I'm sure you all know, financial wellness is important for everyone. Given some of the specific challenges women face, it becomes even more important to understand financial wellness in order to prepare for a secure financial future. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, as of October 2022, 56% of women aged 20 or older were employed. Women's participation in the labor market has consistently been lower than that of men, and our careers look much different depending on our age, marital status, race, and the industry or profession that we've chosen to work in. So when it comes to retirement planning, women face particular challenges, and we're going to look at some of these in detail. The first challenge is that on average, women live longer than men. According to the US Department of Health and Human Services, the average life expectancy for men is 76.3 years old, and for women, it's 81.4 years old. Living longer likely means spending more years in retirement, and that can mean more years having to live on your retirement savings. Logically, you probably need more savings to support yourself if you're going to live longer. Additionally, it's important to think about what living longer looks like. More than 2/3 of Americans age 85 or older are women. With advancing age, disabilities are more prevalent, and the need for long-term care services increases. More than 70% of nursing home residents are women. Their average age at admission was 80 years old. And almost 2/3 of formal paid home care users and informal or unpaid care recipients are women. We'll discuss long-term care again later in the presentation, both paid and unpaid. The important takeaway here is that it's not just that additional years in retirement require more savings, it's that those additional years may be much more costly than the initial years in retirement. The second challenge that we're going to talk about compounds challenge number one, and that is that women tend to earn less than men. We've all heard of the gender wage pay gap, and here are some figures. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if women on average make $12,000 to $13,000 less per year, that means that over a 10-year period in the workforce, they earn roughly $128,440 less than a man. You stretch that out over a 30-year career, and that's $385,320. One study showed that women who are mothers have an even larger pay gap of $16,000 per year. And as you can imagine, earning less money means having less money available to save for retirement. More of your earnings are going towards the day-to-day needs. This makes managing your finances well even more important. The third challenge is that working women are more likely than men to interrupt their careers to take care of family members. Therefore, they work fewer years and usually contribute less towards their retirement savings. In my home state of Maine, there was a recent study developed by the Cutler Institute of Health and Social Policy through a partnership between the Maine Women's Lobby, the Maine Council on Aging, and the Maine Health Access Foundation. This study found that 85% of Maine caregivers are women. This unpaid care labor means women are more likely to work part-time or to leave the workforce, limiting their ability to save for retirement and reducing Social Security benefits later in life. We'll discuss Social Security benefits later in this presentation as well, but I'll just add that work interruptions can impact access to health insurance, which is an important piece when we think about the need for long-term care. More broadly, what we're discussing here is that women's career paths are more likely to be untraditional, and this isn't a bad thing. It just means that additional thought needs to be put toward how to save for the future. It's not just caring for family members. Work interruptions can look like taking time to have and raise children or caring for an aging family member or close family friend. But it can also look like choosing to support a partner's career by managing the home or leaving a traditional career path to start a business or to be an entrepreneur. The last challenge that we're going to talk about is that women tend to invest more conservatively than men. But luckily, this is one that we have a little more control over. Over the long term, a conservative portfolio is more likely to generate lower returns. So the money a woman is investing might be providing lower returns for her than the same amount of money invested more aggressively. However, generally, the more aggressive the portfolio, the more exposed it is to investment risk. Now, this does not mean that women are bad at investing. In fact, there have been a number of sources that suggest that women's ability to think critically about the risks and rewards of investing and to make a plan and stick with it, or to be less reactive to the market, can actually benefit them. The key is evaluating when it is appropriate to take greater risk. I know, speaking for myself, the more I learn and understand about investing and saving for retirement, the more empowered I feel to take these calculated risks. So as we talk about investment risk, we thought it would be helpful to speak to the major asset class categories and their associated average levels of risk and return. To help you make your money work smarter, we've included this information on the risk and return profiles of the various asset classes. An asset class is a grouping of similar types of investments, and here are three. So the first is stocks or equities. These are shares of ownership of US and foreign-based corporations, and they are generally considered a vehicle for appreciation. They are higher risk, but can produce higher reward. Bonds or fixed income refers to corporate bonds and government securities. They are generally considered a source of current income and diversification. And then we have money market funds or cash and cash equivalents. And these are a source of liquidity. They may include short-term fixed income investments. These are going to be low risk, but also not be able to produce the amount of reward that something that is more high risk would. The mix of classes that make up your portfolio is called your asset allocation. And if we look back at the previous slide, you can see that for a conservatively invested portfolio, the asset allocation is predominantly made up of bonds, fixed income, and money market funds, cash or cash equivalents. Whereas in an aggressively invested portfolio, the asset allocation is predominantly made up of stocks or equity. So your asset allocation determines how aggressively or conservatively your portfolio is invested. Now, it's important to also keep in mind that no asset allocation can guarantee returns or eliminate the risk of loss. All investment comes with risk. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to pass the conversation over to Jacquie to share more detailed information about financial wellness and how to plan for a financially secure future.
Thank you, Kristina. I am so thrilled to be speaking with you today, discussing a topic that is both incredibly relevant for this moment in our history and deeply important to me personally. Now that we understand some of the challenges women face, let's dive deeper into creating solutions for a more financially secure retirement. With more years spent in retirement and less money saved, women are presented with quite the challenge when it comes to creating financial stability. As you may be aware, the recent pandemic and income reduction from job loss really did not support women in their efforts to save for their futures. The COVID-19 pandemic disproportionately impacted women, particularly minority women and those who have small children residing in their homes. According to research conducted by McKinsey, women's jobs were almost 2 times more vulnerable in this crisis. While women make up 39% of global employment, they actually accounted for 54% of overall job losses. While the implications for women were drastic, there are always lessons to be learned in the face of a crisis. We hope women come out of the pandemic curious about their financial futures and ready to create a plan to support their long-term financial well-being. In the face of a challenge, I find knowledge to really be the best tool to understand an issue and create a solution. And when we think about retirement, the same logic really holds true. It's important to understand exactly what your goals are for retirement and how much money you'll need to support yourself during those years. The Department of Labor recommends an average of 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain your current standard of living. Here you can see a simplified version of this calculation. However, please note this equation does not take into consideration inflation or investment returns. The number is really intended to give you a starting point from which you can have a more detailed conversation with a financial professional. To understand what this figure could potentially look like, we modeled a couple of examples. In this first example, this woman makes $35,000 annually and plans to spend 15 years in retirement. Therefore, they'll need an estimated $420,000 to maintain their current standard of living in retirement. In this second example, this woman makes $50,000 and plans to spend 20 years in retirement. As you can see in this scenario, the current salary and length of time an individual plans to spend in retirement does implicate the overall estimate for required savings. Based on information provided, this individual would need to save about $800,000 for retirement. Lastly, this woman currently makes $100,000 and hopes to spend 25 years in retirement, which means she will need an estimated $2 million in retirement savings. As you can see from these examples, there really is a wide range of possibilities when it comes to the income you'll need to save for retirement. We shared these scenarios to illustrate some potential figures. However, we do want to mention that everyone's circumstances are truly unique. Based on research conducted by the CFA Institute, over 90% of women, regardless of their marital status, will need to make significant financial decisions on their own at some point in their lives. That's why it's so important to understand your available resources so you can get appropriate support to build your long-term financial plan. Retirement calculators are a great tool to begin this process of understanding your individual situation and creating a plan. The US government Social Security website, as well as your current retirement provider, and of course, Mutual of America, all have retirement calculators, which you can use to better understand these numbers. Now that we have a better understanding of the importance of saving and building a plan, let's take a look at what actually makes up your retirement income. Where does this money come from? Typically, you can anticipate your income in retirement to be a combination of Social Security, personal savings, income from assets, income from earnings, and of course, your retirement accounts. As we mentioned, women tend to make less money throughout their careers, primarily due to the gender wage gap and breaks in their professional career for family care. According to statistics released by Business Insiders, white non-Hispanic women make 79% that of men. Black women make 64%, and Hispanic Latino women make 57% that of men. It's important to understand that your retirement savings and Social Security benefit are heavily impacted by your salary. The more you make during your professional career, the more you can save for retirement. Given what we know about the drastic disparities between men and women's salaries, we believe it is essential for women to have a financial plan for retirement and to build that plan as soon as possible. Now that we have reviewed retirement income as a whole, let's take a look specifically at Social Security. As Kristina mentioned earlier in the discussion, women live longer than men. Therefore, it's especially important for women to maximize their long-term financial benefits. Understanding the nuances of Social Security can have significant implications on the benefits you receive in retirement. A common misunderstanding around Social Security is when you should start claiming your Social Security benefit. The longer you wait to receive Social Security, the larger your monthly benefit. As you can see from this chart, the monthly payment differs based on the age you elect to begin receiving Social Security income. The example shows an assumption that an individual would make $100,000, just 1,000, not 100,000, at full retirement age of 66 and 8 months. If you choose to start receiving Social Security at 62, however, the payment would be reduced to $716 per month. But if you wait until age 70, you'll see a monthly amount increase to a little over $1,200 a month. If you claim Social Security at 62, rather than waiting until your full retirement age, you can expect up to a 30% reduction in monthly benefits. Likewise, if you delay claiming Social Security until past your full retirement age, you can expect your benefit to increase about 8% until you reach age 70. For more information on your Social Security benefit, we really recommend that you review the Social Security Estimator on the Social Security Administration website. To conclude this section, I want to take a moment to review your savings and discuss ways to ensure you are maximizing your savings as you plan for retirement. While every financial situation is different, research recommends saving between 10 to 15% of your monthly income for your future. If your company sponsors a retirement plan for its employees, we highly encourage you to participate in the plan. A company-sponsored retirement plan is one of the best ways to save tax-deferred money for retirement. In addition to contributing, make sure that you understand how much money you can set aside each year to maximize your retirement contributions, ideally increasing that amount as you go through your professional career. For 2023, the maximum contributions allowed by federal tax law are $22,500 or 100% of compensation, whichever is less. If you are 50 or older, you can do what's called an additional catch-up contribution, which allows you to save a little bit more for retirement. And in 2023, that catch-up amount will be $7,500. Additionally, you can always consider other vehicles like an individual retirement account if you need more opportunities to save for retirement. As we close this presentation, we thought it would be really helpful to just take a look at some practical steps and how you can really begin building your financial plan. So what should we do now? Let's briefly discuss our takeaways from today's conversation, things you can do right now to ensure you are going to reach your retirement savings goals. So first and foremost, understand whether or not your organization has a retirement plan. Most likely that would be in the form of a 401k or a 403b plan. Then, if your organization does have a plan, make sure you are contributing at whatever level is financially feasible, particularly if that employer does what's called an employer contribution or employer match. You want to make sure you're not missing out on any of that money that your employer is willing to put into your retirement account on your behalf. Then you really want to try to get your retirement savings to between 10 and 15% of your income. Depending on your current financial situation, 10 to 15% may not be feasible at this moment, but we share these percentages really to give you a benchmark and something to reach for over time. And then you also want to understand your current account balances and your account statements to be sure you're invested appropriately. As Kristina mentioned earlier in the discussion, your investment selections can significantly impact your overall retirement savings. Lastly, you might want to consider consolidating your retirement accounts with one provider. It's important to understand where all of your retirement savings lies, and keeping your money in one place, in one account, is a great way to achieve that goal. So as you change from job to jobs throughout your professional career, we want to make sure that your retirement assets are transitioning with you. Now that we've discussed some of the key takeaways from our conversation, Kristina is going to review a couple of other items to consider when building your savings plan.
Thanks, Jackie. So as Jackie said, saving in other areas and finding ways to increase your earnings can help you increase your retirement savings as well. And we're going to look at some of the things that you can do. There are just a couple of ideas, and keep in mind that these are big picture goals. You can work towards these incrementally over time. So first, and this is a big one, try to reduce credit card debt. The money you're paying in interest could be helping fund your retirement or other savings goals. There are lots of resources and strategies to work towards this. One resource that we recommend is Cambridge Credit Counseling, which is a Massachusetts nonprofit debt relief agency. Another way is to periodically increase your retirement savings contribution rate. As Jackie mentioned, there are maximum limits, and we do recommend 10 to 15% of your income as how much you should be saving. But you don't need to start there. You can start smaller and then try increasing your contributions every year until you reach that maximum. We do strongly encourage you to take advantage of any matching contribution your employer offers, and that matching contribution can count towards that 10 or 15%. So if your employer offers a 3% match and you're putting in 3% to get that match, you'd be at 6% of your income. It can also be useful to create an emergency fund for unexpected events. That way, you have some savings to cover expenses and you don't need to decrease the amount that you're putting towards your retirement. And as we've discussed throughout the presentation, it's important to understand and have a plan for future healthcare costs. Remember, living longer could mean more time spent in retirement, and that may mean more time in long-term care. The cost of long-term care depends on the type and duration of care that you need, the provider that you use, and where you live. It's important to factor this into your financial plan. And lastly, consider staying employed for longer, even part-time. And this will help you put more money towards your retirement. It can also help you delay taking those Social Security benefits, as Jackie was talking about. Working also helps people stay connected as they get older. It can help you explore one of your passions while keeping you connected with people in your community. And maybe that looks like selling arts or crafts, working part-time for a nonprofit that you care about, or maintaining a rental property, anything to generate additional income.
As we conclude our discussion, Kristina and I wanted to be sure this group was aware of some of the key age-related milestones surrounding retirement. First and foremost, age 50 is when you can begin making catch-up contributions to your retirement account. So if you're in a position where you'd like to save some additional money, or perhaps you need to catch up on retirement savings due to time away from work for family care, in 2023, you can save an additional $7,500 towards retirement once you reach age 50. At age 62, this is when you can begin claiming Social Security. Earlier in the discussion, I referenced Social Security and the implications age has on your relative Social Security benefit. By waiting until your full retirement age, the income you receive from Social Security will increase and continue to increase until you reach age 70. Now, full retirement age does change. And, for example, I'm in my mid-30s. I feel relatively confident that the full retirement age may shift slightly older by the time I reach retirement. So it's just something you want to keep in mind while you're building your financial plan. And lastly, I wanted to mention age 72 as an additional retirement milestone. At age 72, that's when you're required to begin taking what are called required minimum distributions from your retirement account. So you'll need to start taking money out of your plan. The age was previously age 70 and a half, but it was updated in the Secure Act in 2019.
So I realize that we've both given you a lot to think about today, but helping you get to know your plan in detail is part of what we do at Mutual of America. We're committed to high-touch, personalized service, humans talking to humans, and we want to help you understand your retirement plan and how best to take advantage of its benefits. Seeking the guidance of your financial professional or your retirement provider is the best way to gain additional insight and start to build a personalized retirement savings plan. If you're a client of Mutual of America, we can help you understand your investment allocation so that you can determine if it reflects your time horizon and tolerance for risk. and also provide additional information about the investment options under your plan. Clients can also log into the My Account section of the Mutual of America website to review your statements, see your personal rate of return, and stay up to date on your balances and performances. That piece that Jackie was talking about of knowing where your money's invested and keeping an eye on how those investments are doing. But whether you are a client or not, we've discussed and provided a number of free tools and resources to get you started. There's plenty of useful information in the Your Retirement Center on Mutual of America's website that is accessible to anyone. And you can explore interactive tools like retirement calculators, either on the Mutual of America website or on a number of other websites that we've mentioned today. MNN will be sharing the recording and slides of this presentation with anyone that registered so that you can reference this information that we've discussed today at your leisure.
So thank you so much for your time and attention. We want everyone to feel really empowered to plan for retirement and know that we're here to help. So we wanted to open it up for questions from the group, and Kristina and I also have our contact information here. So if you'd rather talk with us one-on-one, we're happy to do that as well. Turn my video back on for any questions from the group. And we know retirement is a sensitive topic. So if there aren't questions that you'd like to ask in the group format, that's absolutely okay. And I don't think, Kristina, I was monitoring the Q&A. I didn't see any questions as we were chatting, but while we have the group, there were a couple of other things that are questions that we get a lot, and we thought it might be helpful to just chat with the group about briefly. One of them is, we mentioned understanding whether or not your company has a retirement plan. And we get questions a lot around, where do I go to find this information? And, Kristina, I'm interested in your thoughts too. You typically, where the HR department is usually the best place to start. So oftentimes, your employee handbook might have some information referencing benefits, specifically the retirement plan. And then, I would start with colleagues on your HR team.
Another question that we get frequently is what to save for first. It can be pretty overwhelming putting together a budget if resources or your earnings are pretty tightly budgeted. And we know that these are big picture goals that we can work towards incrementally. But what we would recommend if you're just starting your saving journey is to start with a emergency fund so that you have a little extra to put towards those emergency expenses before starting to contribute to that retirement plan. Jackie, was there anything that I missed?
Yeah, definitely. That's a really common question. And, of course, we do want to couch this as, you want to make sure that you're consulting with a certified financial professional. So that can look like what's called a CFP. That's a certified financial planner, or someone that, would give you investment advice. Kristina and I are here just to offer you insights and our perspective based on our work in the industry, but definitely having an emergency fund and thinking about where the retirement plan fits in, where, reducing debt, whether that's student loans or credit cards, have all of those things kind of play together in one picture for you. But I think that's really important. And then, one other question we get often is, how often do I look at my retirement account? And I think that it's hard, particularly in an environment like this, where, the market is fluctuating a lot, but we would recommend do a good evaluation of your retirement account at least once a year, twice a year, maybe, but, certainly don't look at it every day. You'll drive yourself crazy. It's a long-term financial goal and an account that you have. So it's not something that, it's not like your checking account where you want to be looking at it on a daily, weekly basis.
Yeah. And I know I am guilty of that I check my retirement savings probably more frequently than I should. But we mentioned before that that part of what can make women really great investors is not being reactive to the market, remembering that this is a long-term investment, that, there are going to be ups and downs in the market, but keeping things invested for long term is what's going to help you generate those returns. And also, it's never too early or late to start saving for your retirement. Whether you're at the beginning of your career and this is all sort of very new to you, or you're towards the end of your career and thinking about maybe those catch-up contributions, now is a great time to do this, to set up your financial plan.
Yeah, and on that same note, we do get questions, especially now when the market is down, as to whether or not this is a good time to start investing in your retirement account. And it's honestly a great time, because you're going to be able to buy into the market when, things are at a reduced price. So it's kind of like, think about, you're buying things at a discount right now. And then we hope that, the market will go back up, as it, knock on wood, tends to do. And then you'll see those gains going forward. So Claire, I haven't seen any questions coming through the Q&A. If anyone would like to unmute themselves, are more than welcome to, but I think Kristina and I are all set with the content we had for today.
Okay, great. And like I said, I'll email everybody the slides and recording afterwards, as well as your contact information, so they can always get in touch with you.
Great. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day.
Thanks so much,
you.
everyone.